Welcome to Mindvale YouTube channel.
Arav had always been afraid of the dark, not because he believed in ghosts, but because sometimes the human mind can create something much worse. It was 2:17 a.m. Arav was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. His room was completely silent. He slowly closed his eyes and fell asleep. A few hours later, Arav suddenly opened his eyes. He could see everything: his ceiling, his window, his phone lying on the table. He knew he was awake, but something was wrong. He couldn't move. Not his arms, not his legs, not even his fingers. Arav tried to speak. Nothing came out. He tried again. Still nothing. His breathing became faster. Then he noticed something. The bedroom door was slightly open. He was certain he had closed it before sleeping. Arav stared at the gap. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then, the door moved, very slowly. Arav wanted to look away, but he couldn't. Something dark appeared behind the door, a human-shaped figure. It didn't walk into the room. It simply stood there, watching him. Arav tried desperately to move. Nothing. Then the figure took one step forward. Arav finally managed to make a sound, and suddenly he woke up. He jumped out of bed. His heart was racing. The room was dark. The door was closed. Everything looked normal. Arav checked the time. 2:17 a.m. Exactly the same time. He told himself it was just a nightmare. But there was one problem. He hadn't been dreaming. He had been awake. At least, it felt that way. The next morning, Arav searched for what had happened, and that's when he discovered something terrifying. It was called sleep paralysis. During normal REM sleep, the brain temporarily prevents most of the body's muscles from moving. This is called REM atonia. It's actually a protective mechanism. Without it, people might physically act out their dreams. But sometimes, the brain wakes up before that paralysis completely disappears. Your eyes can open. You can see the room. You can hear sounds. You may even feel completely conscious. But your body is still temporarily unable to move, and that's when things can get terrifying. Because the brain is awake, but part of it is still in dream mode. Some people report seeing a shadowy figure. Others feel that someone is standing near them. Some hear footsteps, some hear voices, and some feel pressure on their chest. These experiences can feel completely real, but they aren't proof that something supernatural is in the room. They're often hallucination-like experiences connected to the strange transition between dreaming and waking. Arav felt relieved. There was an explanation. There was no ghost, no mysterious creature, no one standing behind his door. Just his brain. At least, that's what he thought. That night, Arav went to see again. He placed his phone beside his bed, locked his door, and turned off the light. At 2:17 a.m., his eyes opened. Again, he couldn't move. Again, the room looked exactly the same, but this time, the door was completely closed. Arav stared at it. Nothing happened. Then he heard something. A quiet breathing sound, right beside his bed. Arav couldn't turn his head. He could only stare at the ceiling. The breathing continued. Slow, calm, close. Then a voice whispered, "Arav." His entire body felt frozen. He knew it was probably another sleep paralysis hallucination. He knew his brain could create voices. He knew there was a scientific explanation. But then the voice whispered again. This time, it said something that terrified him. "Don't open your eyes." Arav froze. His eyes were already open, so why would the voice tell him not to open them? And then he understood. Maybe he wasn't actually awake. Maybe his brain had created the entire room. The ceiling, the bed, the door, everything. He was still dreaming. But if that was true, then what was watching him? Arav forced himself to move one finger. Nothing. He tried again. Nothing. Then suddenly, his body snapped awake. He sat up. The room was completely silent. The door was still closed. Arav looked at his phone. 2:18 a.m. Only 1 minute had passed. He laughed nervously. Just sleep paralysis. Then his phone screen turned on by itself. There was a new note in his phone. A note he hadn't written. It contained only one sentence. You were not dreaming. Arav stared at the screen, and for the first time, he wasn't afraid of the dark. He was afraid of falling asleep. Because sometimes, the scariest thing isn't what you see in a dream. It's what your brain makes you believe while you're awake.
Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe to my channel.